people say things were peaceful and the cops are what turned things violent. When you hear that, what is your thought on it? And is it something that you think is possible / reasonable? Based on these witness reports, what do you think about that?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, everybody's going to have their own perception and reality of what they saw. Okay, so if you're standing right there and you saw that and you thought there was no justification, that's what you believed at that moment. Again, you don't necessarily know what happened somewhere else. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. I saw the aftermath. I saw the picture. I don't know what happened. But what I do know is being an incident commander in a command post, and I spoke about this a little earlier, is that someone said, it was completely peaceful. I will tell you is that something must have been happening if that person did not see in order for that to start deploying either tear gas or something else.
But if they're firing into a crowd, what type of tactical training would result in an officer firing into a crowd blankly and hitting a person who had nothing to do with what they may or may not have actually been firing at? I think that's the problem where people don't understand from a police, because I'm trying to understand it from a police officer's perspective. At what point would it was probably unruly. People were probably yelling at police officers, but if at that point there's no violence, there's no destruction of anything, there's no breaking of windows, why would you fire tear gas into an already agitated crowd to make things worse?
Well, again, it's important to remember that is what one person has said was happening at the time. You don't know what might have been happening, behind you, because you're not looking behind you. You don't know what's happening somewhere else. So it is crowd, certainly crowd dynamics. There is different levels of crowd dynamics and different responses as to what you do. Again, with the big picture, you don't necessarily know that there wasn't vandalism or officers being assaulted somewhere else. Order to disperse was given. Then, if there's no dispersal, then you do, then you do a follow-up as to what you're going to do. And it's important. Again, the whole goal is to keep it as peaceful as possible, and that's why you do give dispersal orders. So we saw that picture. I saw that picture, and to look at that, you're like, this person did nothing. I understand why people would say that, but it's a bigger picture as to what is happening. And again, with not being in the command post, I can't tell you, but I can only speak from my own personal, when I handle these incidents as the chief of police, there was a lot of dynamics going on when we gave orders to, deploy tear gas, or orders to take something, other decisions that were made. And, a lot of that goes down to the field commander on the scene that is seeing things also in the command post, what is going on. And the whole goal is to keep it peaceful.
So they're told to fire. This is not just one person, individual who feels like they see something, then they fire. The command to fire comes from a tower or from someone else?
No, I mean, it's again, usually that, I can't speak for, I wasn't there, but direction is given as to how we handle these types of protests. And that decision could come from the commander that is right there on the scene, or it could come in consultation with the command post. It's not a one size fits all. Again, I know a lot of people are just looking for a black and white answer here. A lot of times there's no black and white answer. It's a lot of these decisions that are made because of what you know that is happening in one area or another area, but in a bigger picture of what's going on. And that's what we need to realize. There's a bigger picture than what you are just seeing in the person right in front of you.
I just have one general question about, I guess, tactics of controlling a protest, because it's a little confusing when you watch, like, for example, in Huntington Beach a couple of weeks ago, people were protesting to open things back up again. And there was thousands of people on the streets of Huntington Beach, and there was really very, very little police, presence there. So I guess my question is, why is such a large amount of police presence required when it comes to like a Black Lives Matter protest? It seems like the protests are giant numbers on both of them, but why is there such police presence, for example, like in San Diego, in La Mesa, or in downtown?
Yeah, and I'll answer it this way. You know, we're watching what goes on in other areas of the country. We're watching what goes on around here. When you saw the protests of, because people wanted to open up, you know, a beach or something like that, it was very, very calm. There was no graffiti. There was no destruction of property. There was no banks that were burned down over that. And when we're watching what's going on, you know, you have to be prepared. And I'll talk about when, it's not a political statement, but I'll talk about when candidate Trump came here, you know, back when I was chief of police, and you saw what was happening in other cities, that, you know, fights breaking out, fires, you know, cities are actually telling them not to come because they don't think that they can handle all the major protests. And so we put a plan together here, and I was very vocal about it, that we would support, help facilitate peaceful protests. That's our philosophy. That hasn't changed. But when you start to get destruction of property, when you start to get violence, you cannot allow that to happen. And so that's why you see a difference. You have to be prepared, but as you know, you saw for hours just yesterday, hours, that it was very peaceful, but that changed. And it goes back to what I talked about before. Let's not let these few rioters, not protesters, let's not let these few rioters hijack this moment for meaningful change.
I have to respectfully disagree with you on this point. The protest in Huntington Beach did not have a heavy police presence, and you said that wasn't as, I'm going to use the term energetic, but at the same time, during the day, the protests here, the protests across the country, during the day, those were of spirit, of voices being heard, and there was a heavy police presence, and I think that causes the agitation. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I honestly believe that if these protests get the same amount of attention from a police perspective as the one in Huntington Beach did, or the ones at the state capitol where these guys are carrying assault rifles, you would not have the pushback from the people in the street, because they see cops as agitation, because the cops are why people are in the street. And so when you find yourself in a situation surrounded by police officers and you're just trying to have your voice heard, and you just watch for 2 weeks in a row, people in Huntington Beach get the same opportunity, people in Michigan with assault rifles on state capitals get the same opportunity, but you can't get the same opportunity. You see a problem in that, and that problem, unfortunately, rests on the shoulders of the police.
Well, let me just, Shelley,
I appreciate if I can respond, Scott, for that.
Go ahead, because I also would like to. I'm curious. Also, I have another. Go ahead, please. Feel free.
Well, and I appreciate that. You know what you're saying there. And remember, we're there to protect the First Amendment right to assemble. We're there to protect that you can do that. And to the earlier conversation about some of these groups don't necessarily want the protesters that were there for legitimate reasons to protest. And we have to make sure that we provide that safe environment so they can protest peacefully. We shut down streets, we let them march, and that takes personnel to do that. So, you know, and I love this dialogue, because, you know, the only way that we're going to explain this and, you know, let it know from the different perspectives is to have this very civil dialogue. So thank you for bringing up that point. I love that you brought that up. And so that's the goal, is to be there to make sure that you're not interfered with, the peaceful protesters. Yeah,
it's so interesting, though, because the way you guys both asked the question, Alex asked it like, and the way I heard it was, you have a black issue. A black man was killed on the streets of Minneapolis. It's a Black America is furious with police officers. And by the way, lots of white Americans are also furious. Okay. So the question was asked in a way that made it sound to me like, why is it that at a black protest, there needs to be a tremendous amount of police presence, but at and I'm putting this in quotes, at a white protest, meaning, hey, we're flying American flags and we all want America to open up. You're holding us back from being free. That looked like a white protest. This looked like a black protest. The white protest, perception-wise, didn't seem to have as much police presence, and the black protest seemed to have a lot of police presence. But see, I jump in and I ask it like this. If you're in San Diego, you've already seen what's going on in Minneapolis, Atlanta, Chicago, LA, New York. So it would occur to me that the reason you have all these cops in downtown San Diego, even when it's peaceful by day, is to prepare for what happens when it turns nighttime and we expect things to get a little out of control. I guess did I hear the way you asked it, right, Alex? I mean,
straight up, yeah, that's what it is. And I think whether you see it that way or don't, I think a lot of people in America are seeing it that way right now. White people that were doing that in Huntington Beach get to do that without being threatened by police presence. That's just the way it's perceived by me. I could be wrong, but maybe by John as well. It sounds like that's what it looks like. It looks like because it's a black issue that there's so many police officers, because you're expecting a riot, you're expecting violence, you're expecting that. But in Huntington Beach, you're not expecting that because they're white. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you expressing yourself like that. And that's where we talk about race relations and not just hearing somebody, but or listening, but really hearing what you're saying. And what I said, and I'm listening and I'm hearing. And what I said was when you brought up the Huntington Beach because they wanted to go back on their beach and go sit down on their beach, you didn't see any violence, across the country with that. You saw people protesting, but I didn't see any fires being sent over that. But while I'm watching what's going on in other cities, you do see fires, you do see assaults, you do see overt criminal acts. And here as a law enforcement official, I'll talk again about, the Trump rally. And, you have to make sure that doesn't happen here. Go back to Ferguson. I was the chief during Ferguson. You didn't see our city burn like you saw other cities. And part of that was because we did have a lot of officers that were out there to help facilitate those marches. Like yesterday, we needed police officers to help march, to reroute traffic. And we did that. So we were there to protect the First Amendment right of assembly, of free speech. But we also have to be prepared because we've seen what can happen just a night ago in La Mesa if we don't work together and don't respond quickly to the unrest that we saw across.